Now let's look at the problem of finding the slope of a line given 2 points. So the first thing to think about is slope. If you think about slope, the slope of a line is determined by the rise and the run. So we say this line has a certain slope. We say that if we change the line so it was more like this, it would have a flatter slope or a less steep slope. And if it was running the other way, a line like this has a negative slope. And since slope is rise over run, that gives us what's called the slope formula. The slope formula, we use m for the symbol for slope. It's the change in y over the change in x. Or the way many people say it is rise over run. And the formula would be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let's think about that for a second. x1 means the x value of point number 1. Whereas y1 then would be the y value of point number 1. So y2 would be the y value of point number 2, and x2 the x value of point number 2. So let's say we're given 2 points. Let's say we're given the points 3 minus 5, and let's say 1 minus, or let's say 1 and 4. Well, let's say, 4. So the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We need to label one of these point number 1 and one of these point number 2. Just to make it easier, let's call the first point point number 1. So this would be x1, this would be y1, this is x2, and this is y2. This is called point number 1. This is called point number 2. It doesn't matter which point you call which. It turns out you get the same answer. If we did this problem and we did 4, that's 4 minus 5. Be careful with your signs. Once you know how to do this, the only thing you're going to get wrong is the signs. x2 is 1 minus 3. 4 minus 5 is 4 plus 5, or 9. 1 minus 3 is a minus 2. So you have 9 over minus 2, or you have a slope of minus 9 halves. What that means is that the negative slope means it slopes downward. And the fact that it's 9 over 2 means that you have a rise of 9 for a run of 2. So it looks something like that. Let's do exactly the same problem, but let's mix up what we call point number 1 and point number 2, and you'll say you'll get exactly the same answer. 3 minus 5, 1, 4. But this time, let's call this one point number 1, and this one point number 2. So this would be x2, y2, x1, y1. If you have m, let's see, you have y2 minus y1, that's minus 4 minus 5 minus 4 over 3 minus 1. Minus 5 minus 4 would be a minus 9. 3 minus 1 is 2. So you slope of minus 9 halves. So you get exactly the same answer. Let's do another example. Let's find the slope of the line given the points 4, 3, minus 2, 7. the slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Anytime you're learning a new formula the first time, it's good to write down the formula the first few times. Let's label them. Let's call this point number 1, point number 2. So that's x1, y1, and x2, y2. So that's going to be 7 minus 3 minus 2 minus 4. Be very careful with your positive and negative signs. 7 minus 3 would be 4. Minus 2 minus 4 is a minus 6. So your slope is a minus 4/6, except for that you can simplify that. There's a 2 that goes into both 4 and 6, so you simplify that. Divide this by 2 and get 2, and divide this by 2 and get 3. So your final slope is going to be a minus 2/3. A couple more things to worry about with slope. First, if you end up with a slope with a 0 in the numerator, let's say you had 0 over 5. Well, 0 over 5 is just, you take 0 and divide it by 5, that's just 0. So that's a slope of 0. A slope of 0 is simply a horizontal line. The slope tells you whether it rises or falls. A horizontal line does neither. It does neither. The other thing to remember about slope is, let's say you had a slope of 2 over 0. Well, you can't divide a number by 0, so we say that's undefined. And that's going to be a vertical line. Remember, if you take a 0 and divide by a number, you get 0, but if you take a number and divide by 0, that's undefined. Let's do a quick example of that. Let's say you have the points 3, minus 2, and 3, 7. Slope, y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Let's label these. Point number 1, point number 2, x1, y1, x2, y2. Let's just plug the numbers in. That's 7 minus minus 2 over 3 minus 3. 7 minus minus 2 is 9. 3 minus 3 is 0. That's undefined. Remember, when you divide by 0, that's undefined. Since it's undefined, that means it's a vertical line. So just remember, 0 divided by 5 is 0. So you have a slope of 0, but 2 divided by 0 is undefined, so you have a vertical line. And that's how you find the slope of a line given 2 points.